All right, are we live? I think I'm live. All right, excellent. Yes, it says I'm live. All right, so yeah, back for part 21 of this series. All right, so last week, or not last week, Wednesday we finished orchestrating our sketch for section B1 and B2. So here today we're going to focus on returning to the original material, the original thematic material in thematic statements A3 and A4. A3 being where the big climactic moment is going to come in, and A4 being where we're going to start, teetering back down a little bit. But before we do any of that, let's listen to the sketch again to see what we've got so far, and hopefully people will start coming in a little bit with their questions, comments, suggestions, theories, you name it. All right, are we going? There we go. I'm enjoying this. I'm excited already. Definitely got a lot more energy today than I did on Wednesday. Let's see how much we can get done today. Love that bass line. A nice strong bass line and brass. All right, awesome. And like I said, that's an abrupt transition. We will smooth that out. But this is what we did last time, actually. No, this is what we did last time. Here is where we are going to be working today. So we've already got this in climactic octave strings, but I'm only seeing 2 octaves. We're going to change that. I like to work with more than just 2 octaves at the climax. All right, and then we come back down with just some unison strings. All right, so this is what we're working with today. All right, we're returning to the original thematic statement, and we need to make sure that we've got it contrasting and nice and bright. We got to make sure that it can loop. So here let's just get started. All right, so we are back in, let's see, what is our time signature? Yes, we're in theme A again, which means we are back in 7/8 time, 100 beats per minute. Let's see. So right now, let's take a look at what we've got for the melody, which looks like it's just octave strings. We have got violas, violins 2, and cello. Oh, no, yeah, there's multiple octaves. I just forgot to highlight these in earlier. Oh, yeah, there we go. All right, so how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, we got all 4 octaves. I do love a good string section, just performing in octaves. It's a great way to just immediately provide presence and command to your sound. All right, so we are already performing forte so far, and we're going to adjust this. Remember, this dynamic level down here for Cubase is manipulated in the dynamics mapping, and it's a very simple thing. So what it says right here is that fortissimo, it says, all right, fortissimo, we've got this map to expression and modulation. Expression is how loud the samples are performed, and then modulation has to do with which specific samples from the library are used. For example, if we're playing quietly and the modulation is down, you want the modulation to be low, because the low modulation will use samples of the instrument actually performing quietly, because many instruments, especially brass, will have very different tone colors when they're playing quietly versus playing loudly. And we'll go a lot more into detail about this once we've got the sketch finished and we start to actually get into how to make a realistic performance from Cubase. But right now we've got expression and modulation at fortissimo, which is 2 Fs. That tells it is to have velocity around 160%, volume about 80%, and modulation also around 80%. So let's come back in here. Let's solo the violins real quick. All right, so that's a little bit more powerful. Ooh, I do like that. Oops, almost opened the score editor. That would not have been helpful. Let's increase this to fortissimo as well. Oh, there we go. Yep. Let's get the violas as well, because why not? We want to make sure that they're all nice and powerful here. Excellent, excellent. All right, last ones to the party are the celli. Let's bring these up. Oh, those are already at fortissimo. All right, we've got a nice, powerful string presence on this melody. And right now, this is just plug and chug for the MIDI copy and paste. Again, I'm gonna show you some tricks on how to make this sound much more realistic and expressive once we get to that part in the series. But right now, let's get back to planning. Let's look at how we're gonna plan this section. All right, so macro level considerations, A3. I just recently found out I can zoom in on this notepad, so I'm excited about that. I do wish there was a bit more functionality. But all right, so what overall energy level is this section supposed to have compared to the rest? This massive energy. This is the climax of the entire piece. All right, so how many layers are there? All right, so here's something interesting. We've got the melody. Something that seems almost counterintuitive. When you want a big climactic moment, chances are you don't actually have a lot of layers. All right? So the climactic moment in a piece of music is a moment of releasing tension. So in the sessions up to it, you can have all kinds of layers. You can have contrapuntal lines, you can have ostinato, you've got all these things building contrast between each other, building up tension as they fight for attention. And then in the climactic moment is typically when the whole ensemble comes together to perform the most significant layers. So very often, in the most climactic moments of a piece, you're going to have very basic, bare bones level material. You'll have the melody performed by lots of different instruments. It's typically a tutti statement is what it's called. Tutti, T-U-T-T-I stands for, it means all together. All right. And you've got pure tuttis, which are everyone in the orchestra is playing the exact same thing just across different octaves. Or you have partial tuttis, which are just large chunks playing all the different things. And we'll discuss the difference in the orchestration series I'm coming, unless anyone is burning with curiosity to understand the difference between the two. We've got the melody right now. And so we'll say bass line will be important, and harmony. Of course, harmony will be important. But other than that, we're not going to get too crazy. We're not going to worry about too much ear candy. We're not going to worry about any ostinati. We're going to focus on these three layers. And once we have these three layers, if and only if I decide that it's missing something, then I'll go back and I'll start adding some stuff. Because the problem with big, climactic, massive moments in music like this, with many beginning composers, is they'll get overcomplicated. You'll see lots of people see this as an opportunity to just throw all these different strategies, all these different skill sets that they have, and toss in as much as they can. And then that quickly gets overwhelming, and it kind of loses some of its punch and delivery that it should have. So start with the basics, get only what you absolutely need, and then you can start layering in other effects if you want. All right, but as always, which layer is in the foreground? We have the melody takes primary precedence in this piece at all times. What roles do the other layers play? Harmony and bass line will support the melody by anchoring it to the harmony. Sounds pretty simple, but that's exactly what it's doing. All right, the harmony provides context to the melody to help it provide some of its emotional delivery, and the bass line helps anchor everything to the harmony. All right, so now these are the macro levels. These are the big issues that we want to tackle. What overall energy level, how many layers are there, which layers in the foreground, and what role do the other layers play? These are things I like to address whenever I'm orchestrating any material, just so I know what I'm working with. Next, we've got micro level considerations, or where we start to get into the nitty gritty or the specific details. So foreground tone colors. Typically, this is something I'd spend a lot of time figuring out, but we've already figured it out in a different video. So climactic strings, 4 octaves. All right, so this is massive. All right, not only do we have a crazy number of instruments. Let's see, we've got 16 first violins, 12 second violins, 12 violas, and 12 celli, all playing just a ridiculous amount. What is that? Close to like a little over 50 instruments. I'm not good at mental math. But yeah, that's a bonkers number of instruments all playing the same exact material. And not only that, but they are playing it across 4 octaves. So it's taking up a tremendous amount of space within the sonic realm, within the sonic space. All right, so this is a very commanding, very large orchestration level. Now, background tone colors, let's start discussing what we want to do here. All right, so what emotion or idea am I trying to portray here? Definitely heroic and conquering. All right, the hero has won. The hero has conquered the day. That's not how you spell conquering. They have won. That doesn't look right either. Sorry, I'm not good at spelling either. I have a great many different talents, but spelling and math are not one of them. Let's see, what colors should be useful for portraying it? All right, so heroic and conquering. Basically, now that we know what kind of emotion, what kind of setting we want to create for this moment in the music, the next question is to really start thinking, okay, what instruments are actually capable of performing that? Right away, trumpet is a fantastic choice. Piccolo trumpet is actually a great choice as well. So the main difference between the trumpet and piccolo trumpet, because they do have a lot of overlap between their ranges, the piccolo trumpet can go about like a perfect fifth higher, is the piccolo can play in the upper register of the trumpet with a lot more expression and a lot more control. And what this makes it useful for is the piccolo trumpet is very often used to portray kind of royalty, or even at times like a bit of arrogance. The idea that it's a subtle effect, but most people will recognize when a performer is playing notes with ease. And anyone who's heard trumpet performing in its higher register will understand that there's a tension to that sound, as you hear that the player is literally fighting their instrument to perform that high by pushing enough air and enough lip pressure up there. My fellow trumpet players out there understand how difficult it can be to play up in the upper register. The piccolo trumpet can play those notes with ease, all right, because of the way it's built. And it kind of sounds a little arrogant when it does that. I don't know how else to express that. But if you want a good example, look up Samuel Kim's Warhammer Titan theme. Fantastic cover of a piece of music, again, from Attack on Titan. Incredible. And that part is it's placed in a piccolo trumpet. I'm almost entirely certain, because of the ease at which the instrument is performing in that upper register without any of the tension. So, and this is just me going on a tangent again, but trumpet, piccolo, trumpet as well. Not piccolo. The piccolo trumpet is great as well. Horns, basically all brass. Strings are capable of doing this. For heroic sounds, there's really a lot of good choices here, but these are the big ones, because the next question is which instruments are actually capable of performing this part and providing the part. So all these instruments can perform these colors, but we want to ask, because the bass clarinet can perform a very royal kind of somber and like heroic sound as well, but it wouldn't be capable of performing it in this part. Largely because the bass clarinet is not nearly powerful enough to compete with a full string section performing in octaves. But you know who is? The trumpets, and horns. The brass section is ridiculously powerful. A single trumpet player could easily carry over in the entire string section with ease. The strings have numbers and they have power, but the brass, just the way they're built, there's something else. All right, yeah. I might be blowing my own horn, pun intended, because I'm a trumpet player, but the brass have just unrivaled power. The only instrument I know of that could rival the power of a brass instrument would be a percussionist, just given free rein to beat the bass drum as hard as they possibly can. The bass drum can get ridiculously loud, with one exception being the horns. The horns can't play as loud as the trumpets or the trombones. Once you get past forte, you start getting which is loud, and start getting into the louder registers like fortissimo, fortissimo. Once you get past there, you typically need about 2 horns to match 1 trumpet or 1 trombone. And I explained that a little bit in depth in my brass video for the old orchestration series. But okay, I keep getting pushed on tangents, but trumpets and horns are capable of this. So basically, yeah, we're going to use trumpets, horns, and trombones. And tuba, basically, yeah. The brass section. The brass section is a go-to standard for heroic and powerful themes. So balance, separation, and focus. How will I maintain separation between each layer and idea? So right now, we need to make sure that each layer, the harmony, the melody, and the bass line, each maintain their own identity as a distinct layer in the music. If you don't pay attention to separation, you can run into issues of layers blending together, and it just doesn't have the effect that you want to. Everything will sound like it's just one basic idea, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there are other ways to use the orchestra. So there are five typical strategies to separate your layers in orchestral music. You have, pitch. You can separate them by pitch register. Articulation. You can separate them by what kind of articulations they're using. Rhythm, of course, giving them different rhythm values. Tone, color. And then I am going to say dynamics with 2 asterisks. All right, so dynamics, I put asterisks around them because I did recommend each of these in my original orchestration series. But what I have found since then is that dynamics is incredibly powerful tool for separating ideas, but it's almost too powerful. It's almost like salting your food with too much salt. A little bit ruins the whole meal. Going too far ruins the entire meal. So with dynamics, using dynamics too much to create separation throws off the balance between each layer and quickly muddies up the entire orchestration. So dynamics sparingly, the others as much as you want. I'd say the golden standard, and I've said this before, is get 3 to separate, 1 to unify. And the opposite is true. If you want to take multiple instruments and make them sound like they're performing the same layer, you want to just take whatever instruments are performing the same layer and make them sound unified, get as many of these to be similar as possible. Give them the similar pitch registers, similar articulations, similar rhythms, similar tone colors, whatever you want. Articulation and rhythm are typically the easiest in my experience for either separation or unifying layers. But that's just my little rant. Wow, you guys are being awfully quiet today. As usual, if you do have any comments that you'd like to make, any questions you have for me, feel free to just throw them out. All right, so how will I maintain separation between each layer? So we've got melody, harmony, and bass line. All right, so melody versus harmony. We'll have tone color. We're going to have strings in the melody, brass in the harmony. All right, so that's a given. We'll have different rhythms. Very easy. We'll give the harmony a bit more of a rhythmic quality in the trumpets. Trumpets are fantastic at creating rhythmic harmonic accompaniment. We'll have different articulations. Legato versus staccato. So the melody is kind of legato here. It's a little heroic, but it's a little lazily heroic, or maybe elegantly heroic is a better term, where it's largely legato, largely just very lyrical. So if we can have a little more short and crisp attacks in the harmony, that could be a great way. And then, yeah, tone color, rhythm, articulation. We'll make sure to have pitch. Harmony in smaller registers. All right. We'll keep the harmony spanned into like a specific area rather than spanning the entire register like the strings are. And then melody and bass line are going to be pretty easy to keep each other separate. So I'm going to focus next on bass line versus harmony. The tone color is going to be similar. We'll give them different rhythms, different articulations, and pitch. We'll use these three to separate them. We'll make sure that they have different rhythmic ideas. We'll make sure they have different types of articulations. I'm thinking the tubas and low ends will just boom come in, and then pitch. Of course, we'll have the harmony up, the bass line below. All right, so how will I maintain balance within each layer or idea? All right, melody is layer 1 equals huge instrumentation. Because remember, with balance, we want to make sure that each one is of comparable size in the general power of your orchestration. So melody is huge instrumentation, strings in 4 octaves. So what we want to do is we want to match that. We want to match that size of instrumentation across each other level. I've mentioned that the basic litmus test I like to use is if everyone was told to play at the same exact dynamic level, if everyone was told to play at mezzo forte or whatever, would the balance still remain? If yes, you did a great job with the balance. All right. Harmony needs to be equal size. So I'm thinking trumpets and horns. Now, even though trumpets and horns are very few in number compared, so we got like 50 plus strings, and we've got, what, maybe 7 instruments on the harmony. You have to keep in mind the trumpets and horns are capable of performing incredibly loudly. So, yes, this would be very easily large power here. And then bass line equals equal size. We will have basses, tuba, and low woodwinds. Low woods on the bass line. And we'll find another area to place the other woodwinds. Other woodwinds are excellent choices for adding color to the melody. Maybe adding a little bit of ear candy. We'll see what we want to do with it once we've got all of these layers figured out. How will I ensure focus remains on the foreground? Remember, there are 3 tools used for maintaining focus on a layer. You have changing material, you have activity, and you have pitch. All right, so how will we use each of these? Changing material, we'll make sure that for changing material, melody will be most novel. We'll make sure every other layer falls into a pattern quickly. So whatever pattern we do for the harmonies, we'll have those come in. They'll be established very quickly. Whatever rhythmic pattern the bass line has, establish it quickly and just don't deviate. Or if we do deviate, make small changes here and there. Activity, most rhythmically active. We can try, so like basically the layer that is most rhythmically active is going to have a lot of attention drawn to it. So melody will try to be most rhythmically active. If not, the other layers will fall into a pattern. Once again, if you have a lot more activity, rhythmic activity in a background layer, quickly establish a pattern and let it fall into the background. If you've been watching this series, that's an issue we ran into with the ostinato when we wrote it a few episodes back, is introducing it in the first theme. It was much more rhythmically active than the melody, and so it demanded attention and made it difficult for us to focus on the melody where we wanted it to. So instead, I just introduced it in the introduction of the entire piece. Let the pattern get established, and then very quickly it fell into the background because the melody came in and was new, exciting, and demands more attention. And then, of course, pitch. All things being equal, the layer that has the highest pitch will demand the most attention, and melody will remain in top register. All right, simple enough. So now we've got a decent map of exactly what we want to do. So we've got the melody. Right now, let's focus on building this bass line. So we've got our sketch up here. We have got all the way to measure 49, it looks like, is where A4 returns. So let's find our bass line. E, G, C, A, G, E, A, B. There we go. We got all this. And 49 was where it repeated. So we will copy this. All we're going to do is we're going to put this in our bass instruments. Just copy and paste shamelessly. Let's pop this here. We will combine these so we can see where it left off register-wise. Register looks good. Let's pop the dynamics here at fortissimo. All right, that is way too quiet. What's going on here? I probably haven't set up the dynamic mapping for this. No, I have. All right, so what's going on? All right. Yeah, it's a little bit louder. And the tuba's not going to be that strong. It's a solo brass instrument, a mellower sounding brass instrument in its against an entire string section. All right, so it looks like 47 is actually where that new theme starts. All right, so then let's take this. We are going to simply go here. Let's find out, let's get all those notes. We're going to simply just double this in the basses. Oh, and that is pizzicato. I do not want pizzicato right now. Pizzicato is when the string is plucked by the performer's finger. They hook it and they pluck it instead of, oh no, it's spiccato, which is just playing it short. But it sounded, pizzicato, I want it to be bowed and long. Let's try this. And let's also increase the volume. Let's just figure out these. All right, so we've got a nice bass line going so far. It's nice and lazy, nice and low. So basses and tuba, they're powerful enough. But actually, the real powerhouse of the orchestra in terms of one of the most powerful low-range instruments you can possibly find is the contrabass bassoon. In fact, the contrabass bassoon has a range that goes so low that its lowest register isn't even the one that you use for bass lines. Bass lines are typically played even higher than the lowest notes it can play. The lowest notes it can play, which goes as far down, I believe, B flat 0, which is an octave lower than low C. It's ridiculously low. Those notes are so ridiculously powerful and heavy that they're kind of those notes that you feel them. You don't just hear them. And so those are used a little more rarely. It's called the pedal register. And now might actually be a good time to use that. 1 second, let me pull this up. We'll do long. We'll make sure, let's bring the vibrato down a little bit. We'll touch that up later. Oh, 1 second, that's right. I'm gonna bring this up because for whatever reason, Spitfire Studio Professional does not set everything up at a neutral 0 decibels. I gotta read the manual. I gotta find out why that is. But wrong button. Let's open up this MIDI. Again, any questions while I'm doing this, feel free to ask away. Let's see here. So middle C is C3, which is technically C4, so this would be C3. So this would be C2. This is low C. So let's drop this an even lower octave. And we'll raise this C because it technically can't. Well, I guess it can play that low. All right. I love it, but that's almost too low. All right, let's raise it. One second, what was that? All right, that is true. So something else I forgot to keep in mind is the bass, the contrabass bassoon also isn't the most useful beyond its middle register. After that, it becomes difficult to control. It becomes a little nasally. And so I do want to make sure that I'm not leaving the low register. So this is the lowest it can go. The low register goes about, the lowest pedal register goes from about B flat 0 to about E1. And then the low register goes from about F1 to F2 or F sharp 2, around that area. So that's the F just above low C. So middle C, the C below, low C. So the F, really I don't want it to go too much higher than this. So what if we just drop all of this? That's still too low into the pedal range. So yeah, we'll live with it. These cutoffs aren't written in stone. It's just a general suggestion. The A starts to get a bit thinner, but and so does the B. But these are good. This is good. So we've got a decent bass line going on right now. Let's actually put this in the bassoons as well. Since the bassoon is performing solo before here, let's pop this up an octave and just put the bass line in a larger presence. All right, so we've got the contrabass bassoon. We'll play the bass line in octaves. All right, let's put this in fortissimo. So now we've got the melody, we've got the bass line going. Next thing we need to do is we need to get a sketch for the harmony. So first things first, let's get that trumpet harmony going. Let's get the chord progression. What are we working with here? All right, so here we go. About that B4 is where it ends. We've got this. Make sure we've got everything included. We'll keep that C out because this C seems to be doubled for some reason. Got that, got that, got that. All right, looks like we've got everything. All right, this is interesting. What chord is this? Looks like an E sus4 in second inversion. That's weird. Oh well. That's what we're working with. I'm not going to try and change it now. It works well enough for... Actually, let's listen to it, actually. Let's see what this sounds like. Well, it works. Yeah, it's a nice... So it's a way of using the E chord as a dominant functioning chord, or just building a lot of tension to go right back to it without having to worry about repeating the chord twice. So yeah, it works. It works. We'll leave it the way it is. Let's just pop this in the trumpets real quick and work on creating a rhythmic idea. We have not used the trumpets yet. Let's enable a solo track so we're not getting too powerful. If we want the trumpets A2, that's 2 trumpets. I tend to find that gets a little loud very quickly because every note we play is a recording of 2 trumpets playing that note. So then we'd quickly jump into 6 trumpets performing the harmony. That can get a little overwhelmingly powerful. All right. We're making good time on this, actually. All right, trumpets are active. Let's pop this in. Let's listen to it real quick. And it is not playing. Why is it not playing? Check the range, and it's because these chords are too low for the trumpet to play. Let's raise them an octave and see. Still not playing, still not playing. Why is it still not playing? It says it's playing. Let's try again. All right. All right, it's not. All right, something's going wrong. Let's try here. All right, so it says it's playing. What's going on here? It's Cubase acting up. So, let's see here. And then we'll just mute the tuba. Let's see here. All right. Bring this up. All right. So this works, but one thing I'm noticing right away is this bottom line is almost a little too low for my liking. Let's raise it. Give the trumpet a little more power. So yeah, it doesn't go higher than F, which means it never leaves the treble clef, which means this is a viable it's a viable register to use the trumpet in without having to worry about it getting overwhelmingly powerful. Let's bring this one up. One second. Why is this still not as powerful as I would like it to be? This is at the proper length. You know what? It's because we just used the trumpets and I'm using low modulation. As you saw, the dynamics. And again, I hate using this way of manipulating dynamics, but we'll take care of it. So you'll see dynamics right here. This is down low. And again, this is telling Contact, use the samples of the trumpet players playing quietly. And if the trumpet players are playing quietly, it doesn't matter how loud I make the actual sound of that track, it's still going to have the tone color of a quiet trumpet. Now that we've increased the modulation, that should fix the issue, though. There we go. All right, excellent. So now let's actually start making this a bit more rhythmic, shall we? We'll solo, well, make sure that the trumpets are soloed. All right, so let's actually use this to emphasize the time signature we're in. Because again, we are in 7/8 time, which brings all kinds of fun opportunities for it. Let's see, we'll cut this into 3, 2, 2. All right, and we'll do the offbeats. Let's try this. Let's remove these. Let's solo the trumpets actually again. And trumpets. Let's actually try this. Let's make this staccato. Or staccatissimo. Let's see here. Don't like that. Maybe marcato. I don't usually like Spitfire's marcato, though. All right, what if we just shortened these? All right, and then we'll cut this. And then we'll bring this back to eighth notes again. We'll delete these. We will cut these. Hold the Alt button to make it go faster. Probably should have highlighted it first. And then we will shorten these again. Let's listen to it. Let's lengthen these a little bit. I'm not sure how I'm liking this, but we'll see. We'll see how it works with all these strings. You know, I kind of like it. Maybe. We'll see. Let's continue working with this and see how it sounds near the end. So then we will cut this here. We will cut that there. Oops. There and there. You know, let's just do all of these like this real quick. So we'll cut these. And then hold down Alt. Boom. Hold this. Hold down Alt. Boom. Just quickly taking care of all of this. And we'll see how this sounds. All right. I don't like it. I don't. I'm not in love with it. All right. You know what? What if, because I'm trying to create new material here, actually. Why am I doing that? All right, let's see. What was the rhythmic identity of our rhythmic material earlier? All right, because we had rhythmic material in the bass line earlier. All right, so we did 1 2 1 2 1. Okay, there we go. All right, so we did on the beat. Well, no, because this is 4/4 time. This is 4/4 time, and that wouldn't work in 7/8 time. Not the same way. So did we do anything over here? A little bit. This is, okay, I'm getting stumped a little bit. Oh, that's a bummer. I thought I was going to have great momentum this entire time. But it's all right. This is exciting. We get to create something new. So what we're going to do is we're just going to copy and paste this rhythmic identity that we have established already. And we are going to put it in the trumpets and just see how it compares. Because 7/8 time and 4/4 time are very closely related. Why did it take me to marimba? All right, open this up. Let's just pop it in. We're raising an octave, mute it. All right, so you'll see how 4/4 time is basically 1/8 note shorter than 7/8 time. So what if we just built this so that it copied it a bit, and then we just, let's see here. All right, so then we got that. So then what if we just did one of these? We cut it short a little bit. And so then we had this deleted, these deleted, this deleted. This will be interesting. Let's see if it actually works. Do the same thing here. Just basically cut these here. Cut this, shorten these, shorten these. Let's listen to it. Maybe. I don't like the staccatissimo. Staccatissimo. See, yeah. This is why I love Spitfire libraries, but I wish they had just regular staccato in this. And I'm sure they do somewhere in the library. But staccatissimo is just super short. Let's listen to it this way. Yeah, see? And it doesn't matter how long it is, it just hold it super short. So staccato is typically meant to be like, play this for half the value of the note of what's written. Staccatissimo, to my understanding, is just played as short as you possibly can. And they've both got their place, but it's just not what I kind of want right now. We just put it on long and shortened it. You know what? All right. If you can't figure something out, it's always nice to just come back to it later. So what we are going to do is, instead of worrying about the trumpets right now, we're just going to put this in the horns. And the horns, I don't imagine being as rhythmic as the trumpets. So the trumpets tend to do that. Let's put this in the horns. And for some reason, that's doing that thing too. So let's see. I don't want staccatissimo. Let's do long. And for the horns, let's just do a simple dividing into the pulses. 1 and a 1 and 1 and. So it'd be 1 and a 2 and 3 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and. Because this is an odd time, it is a combination of both duple and triple meters. Let's listen to these. All right, that can work a little bit. Not sure why it sounds a little off to me, but we can work on that later. Right now, because we are running out of time, and I do want to get this moment finished. One second here. Why is that sounding off? All right, what is that playing on? No, it's playing on the trumpet solo. Let's get back to the horns. All right, so the horns, let's make sure this is an optimal range for the horns. The horns, the optimal middle register for heroic, non-intense sounds, which we don't want it to be too intense. Ah, that is why it's sounding weird. This is an octave too high. So for the horns, really for like harmonies and establishing like a heroic, majestic kind of sound, you want to stick to the middle register, which is approximately the E flat below middle C to about the E flat above it. It's about an octave. And of course, those lines are a little fuzzy. It's more of a spectrum than anything else. But this register is excellent for sounding controlled and majestic. Let's try doing marcato to give it a bit more urgent attack. And of course, we'll have to adjust that to make it sound a little more realistic. And one more thing I'm missing is there are only 3 parts written here. Horns are typically played in even numbers at all times because horns tend to be specialists. You'll have upper horn specialists and lower horn specialists. And the upper horns are typically the odd numbered, so like 1 and 3. The low specialists are typically the even, which, you know, you've got like 3, 2, and 4. Let's make sure we're not going too low here. Let's drop these all an octave, and then raise the entire thing an octave, and it should be able to play this no problem. Alright, so I don't like that rhythm. Not in marcato, at least. What if we just put it in like long? And you can barely hear it. Alright, this is frustrating. What if we solo it again? And it's still doing that thing. All right, so I'm not loving it. So let's just remove the rhythmic aspect from this chord progression. We'll get a bit more rhythmic identity from the trumpets. And now that we are no longer getting as much rhythmic activity from the brass, maybe we can put the woodwinds, which we had not found a use for yet in this section, on that same ostinato we heard earlier. Let's listen to this. All right, so that's something. It's something. Oops, sorry if I whacked the mic. Let's see here. All right, so, what are we gonna do? Let's look at our notes again. What did we come up with? All right, so we had climactic strings for octaves. How will we maintain balance? So equals trumpets and horns on harmony, bass, tuba, and low ends. Let's save the trumpets for a little bit, because I do want to. You know what? Actually, let's listen to the whole thing again real quick. right, it's something. Not the best, but let's see here. Functional. So another idea occurred to me. What if we use the trumpets to emphasize the rhythmic stress points of the melody? So let's solo the sketch real quick. All right, so for me, what I heard, boom, this is heavy. Ba-da-da-da. And then this one sounded a bit heavier for me. Then coming up here. So actually, what I'm hearing is B, G, da-da, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da. All right, so what I'm hearing, actually, let's just take these over to the trumpets. We'll open up just a short little thing for us to work with. Oh, where are we? Where are these notes appearing? We started with the B here on the off beat of measure 39, and that's where we'll put it. Let's get these all on the same length so we can just see the rhythm. So what happens if we build a sort of chordal ostinato in the trumpets that emphasize these strong notes in the melody? This might do something. All right, so we're going to take this rhythm. We're going to mute it, raise it up a couple octaves so it stays out of our way. Let's go back to the horns and just swipe those chords from it. Pop that in here. All right, let's lengthen this. Pop these in. So what happens, raise that an octave, if we just mimic these strong points? We'll delete this. So mimic these strong points that are coming in. That's right. So this is, no, it's good for the trumpets. Let's just increase the dynamics a bit. So yeah, we'll do short, long. So we'll lengthen these. And then this one comes in on the second beat. We'll just shorten this. So let's listen to this real quick. We'll shorten this there. Okay, I think there's something here. This is legato, so it's only playing one note at a time. Let's switch that. All right, we'll cut this here. And then we will shorten this. And then we'll have the rhythmic emphasis for these first short parts. Let's see. There's something there. There's something there. This definitely isn't the final form, but there's something here. All right, so with that, I think I'll call it for today. I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to, but we've got a good lead here. I imagine we'll be able to finish this up in like 1 or 2 more episodes. We'll have a sketch that we can start working with. But yeah, all right. Doesn't really look like anyone else is on at the moment, so I'm not going to stay on for my extra minutes for questions or anything. But I hope you guys got something from this. I hope that it was useful. Yeah. As usual, I will see you guys in the next video. Keep studying, keep working hard, and keep writing new music. All right, have a wonderful weekend, everybody. See ya. And end.